Hey, True Believers, Englentine here with another episode of Really That Bad. This is part 2 of the House of X, Powers of X. I reviewed it once before, did not like it, so I figured, okay, I'm going to wait until it's all together, read it like a trade paperback, and we're going to decide, is it as good as you guys say, or is it as bad as I thought the first time I reviewed it? So kick back, relax, and let's get this party started. House of X deals with the assault on the Mother Mold. And once again, I gotta tell you, I really hate these white pages because at this time, at the end of the last issue, I was even saying, I'm on the side of the humans, and I probably always would be. Finally, I have some sympathy for the X-Men. Finally, I don't want them to die. I mean, I don't want them to get killed or anything, but this book does a great job of building tension on both sides. Do you want them to stop? Do you want them to continue? Where should we go here? And that's one thing. I ended up, I don't know where I was like, because I didn't want them to die, but I didn't want them to succeed either, because once again, humanity needs a fighting chance. And if you pay attention to what's happening in Powers of X, at the end, in the 1,000 years and all that, humanity's enslaved. How can I be rooting for that? But this issue right here is just badass. This is what we read comic books for, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, come on, this was intense. I really hope they could keep up this intensity, but come on, we know they really can't. They got to slow it down a little bit, but to have it like this where you're kind of questioning if you do want the mutants to succeed or not because the humanity does end up enslaved is really kind of cool. And the fact that this one just seemed to be balls to wall action all the way through, I've got to say I really enjoyed that. I miss this kind of X-Men story because it really did give me an air of the Days of Future Past, where you're watching everybody die and these are characters you love, and even if it is in some sort of alternate universe or anything like that, this is really something. Oh, and by the way, this scene right here shows you why Sentinels are necessary, or something that is a defense against mutants for humans. When she's like, you guys bit off more than you could chew, so let me just shred you. So I didn't care for Mystique dying right here. I thought that was, oh no, not Mystique. But this was a really smart play to put the button that they needed right out in space. Anyway, this is a really good story. I like this. I hope this next half keeps up this kind of quality. Powers of X, number 4. So I do need to address something I really haven't touched upon. I know I've spoken about how I think the X-Men are kind of acting villainous, but in all honesty, I'm not a big fan of how Professor Xavier is being written here. He is just creepy as hell. Now, granted, I'm not talking about going to the angelic, can do no wrong Professor Xavier of the 1960s, and I'm definitely not talking about going to the 2000s where it was like, he is controlling everybody with his mind. He's the real villain of the X-Men story. No, but this is just freaking creepy, and everything he's been doing is based on something he saw from Mara, and instead of ending up wanting to help mankind, wanting to change the hearts and minds, he says, let's prepare for war. And that's what they've been doing. And it just is not who Professor Xavier was. And it's not who Professor Xavier should be. That's one of the reasons why I don't like this particular book. It's really strange because I loved the House of X number 4. I love this issue when they're dealing with I love Mr. Sinister in this issue. Great writing on that. I love the multiple Sinisters, the whole 9 yards. And this is actually a fun book here. I read these. Gosh, I'm going to say it every damn time. You are messing up your own book by putting all of these white pages in the middle of it. Put it at the end. We understand. We'll catch up. Don't worry about it. And yes, I know it's too late now. I also did like bringing Cypher onto the island to have him communicate. I enjoy the individual issues, but the overall story I'm having a hard time with because it really does seem like a lot of characters are out of character. So in the end, this is kind of like Civil War all over again. Yeah, okay, it's cool to see them fighting each other. Yeah, can't we get the real characters instead of this version you needed to write to make this work? House of X number 5. So last issue, we had this very emotional book. We had a very exciting book. A lot of people died, and it created a story that I had actually commented that I felt like a kid. So I was really excited, really wanting to find out what happens next. Let's get to Krakoa. Let's find out how everybody's dealing with the death of these characters and where they're going to go from here. So it was really, really cool. Then we get to Krakoa, and we have 5 mutants that when you put together all of their powers, they could create life, or in this case, they can resurrect people. Yes, they have cured death, and by curing death, they have killed tension. From now on, even though Professor Xavier says, don't let that happen again because a piece of me dies every time you die, it doesn't matter because they could always bring somebody back. And then once again, we get the "to me, my X-Men" thing where, yeah, I'm sorry, this is coming off like a cold. I'm actually beginning to think we're being punked. And by that, I mean there's something bigger and badder going on here. There's something, I think there's going to be a shoe that drops eventually that we're going to go, oh, that's why they act like a cult. And I'm not even kidding a little bit. There's a part where everybody comes back and they go, who are you? I am Cyclops. And how do I know you? Because I once thought I was a leader and then you taught me better. And Cyclops talking to Storm, and she does this with everybody and says, we know them because they are a mutant. And everybody's chanting and everybody's saying the same thing at the same time. And it's coming off very, very creepy and not X-Men-like at all. I don't know who these characters are. And I've had this discussion with someone in the comment section. My whole thing is in order to tell this story, he has reshaped the X-Men instead of finding other characters to tell the story he wanted to tell. That's how I'm feeling here. These aren't the X-Men. These are some strange version of them, which we may find later aren't actually the X-Men or are being controlled. I'm starting to think maybe Krakoa itself has something to do with this, but I could be wrong. Powers of X number 5. So here we've got a little bit more of the world building. Charles Xavier, Magneto go to Emma Frost, and they're like, okay, we need you to basically be our ambassador, but we need the Black King because we need to have him be kind of an ambassador to the other countries that don't want to join in our agreement, and that way we could do the under-the-table stuff as well. Okay, so he also goes to Forge, and he asks for a certain machine, and we're getting an idea of how they build this big resurrection machine that we saw in House of X number 5. And then when all is said and done, we get the big Professor Xavier announcement. And for some reason, he's wearing a helmet. And that kind of makes it weird. It's like, well, okay, why are you wearing the helmet and walking around when you should be in the chair and you have your face revealed? That's a weird thing that's been going on with me anyway, as far as this book is concerned. But what really gets me is the whole offer. We've got this medicine and the world needs it. And if you give us what we want, we'll give you what you want. And what we're saying is we're going to take over the world one day, but until we do, we're going to make your life better. And considering we have seen in the future that humans are enslaved, we understand that this is exactly what happens, that humans do become subservient to mutants and then to robots, the whole 9 yards. What I'm thinking is, okay, Prof, why don't you send us that mutant medicine and we'll comply. We'll treat you just, but then what's going to happen is Mr. Fantastic, or one of the million Marvel characters that they are now saying is smarter than Mr. Fantastic, is going to take that drug and he's going to reverse engineer it, and we're going to create our own so we could just give you the finger. Have a good day. And just like that, the X-Men's leverage would go away. This is kind of a flawed plan when you put them in the same world as all of the other superheroes. I myself have said that the X-Men should exist in a world of their own. There's plenty enough characters, and there's plenty enough characters that would be good and bad, you know, and so you would have that rift, and you'd have your heroes and villains. But alas, this is what we have, and what we have is a good plot, but poor writing. I'm sorry, he's usually a good writer. I'm just not seeing it this time around. And it's not all the time either. This is a very uneven series, to tell you the truth, because sometimes I'm loving it. Sometimes I'm on the edge of my seat, and sometimes I'm just kind of rolling my eyes and going, yeah, that's a bit of a cringe fest. You could have done better here, or at least you should have really thought out your ideas, which is weird because it seems like he has. He's just missing the boat somehow. House of X number 6. I think I jumped the gun by talking about what happens in this issue for the last issue. But this is where Professor Xavier makes the offer to the world. Hey, look, you know, we'll give you medicine. You just leave us the hell alone and let us be a nation, and you follow our rules because eventually we're going to rule the earth. It's really a veiled threat. Not so veiled and all that. And then they say, yay, time to make some laws. And they go on ahead and they make a couple of laws. One of them is that you can't kill humans. And the other is they need to make more mutants. Which, okay, you have a mutant making factory, you have cured death. There's now no tension in the X-Men as far as what we think. I'm still in the camp of something's going on, and I hope something is going on. I hope this is not the X-Men we're going to get from here on in, because they're not acting like the X-Men. And you know what? I think that this would be a brilliant story if this is a long con where we're going to find out that something really is going on. I think it really could end up being brilliant. If this is the X-Men we're getting, like, is like, hey, all right, this is them, go, then whoops, you freaking screwed up the X-Men. Once again, because you had to change all of them in order to write this particular story. Dealing with Sabretooth, okay, he talked tough, and they're like, yeah, you know what, we don't have room for a killer like you, unlike Sinister and Apocalypse. Hello. And we're going to banish you. Yeah, it's really random here. So I don't know where they're going with this. One more issue to go, and we'll see. But as of now, it's very okay. Powers of X, number 6. So this is the summary. This is the end. This is everything. Where we see behind the curtain, so to speak, with Mora. I never said that name right in the last 40 freaking years I've been reading X-Men. So this, here's the thing. I understand I've been doing these videos, and I've read the book, and I've talked about it immediately. I haven't read the entire thing to talk about the entire thing, because when I do an is it really that good or really that bad, I want to talk issue to issue. Sometimes a story can be strong, it has a weak issue, and so forth, so on. And I understand that a lot of people watching the videos have already seen the entire thing. They've got the entire story while I'm going piecemeal in the videos, and I appreciate the patience. And I think one of the most important things is the fact that a comic book that makes you think, like this one has, is on some level good, whether you liked it or not. It's like you may not like a movie like Apocalypse Now or 2001, but you have to admit that it's well made and it makes you think, it makes you comment. So on that level, I've got to give something to Hickman, because I've been going through, and I really have been ripping into this, because individually, I don't think this is... It's good because he had to rewrite the X-Men in order to get this story. He's not using the X-Men. You could say, and it has been said in the comments, that, well, they're finally opened their eyes to the evils of humanity and blah, 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 yada, yada. Moira always goes to Charles Xavier or to Magneto. She never goes to humanity. She never talks to them. I mentioned in one issue, she never thought to become a politician. She never thought to change the world from the inside. And that's one of the big problems that are created by this. The fact that instantly and every time it's an us versus them situation. It's not that mutants lose, it's just that they've always come at it as a us versus them situation. And you could go, well, it's always been an us versus them situation. If you take the whole Malcolm X, if you take the Martin Luther King thing to heart, that started with Chris Claremont, not Stan Lee, by the way, and you think about that. Think about the acceptance. Think about how far everything's come. Of course, in the recent years, it's been deteriorated again by people who believe that there has to be segregation. Then from within is the best way to do it. And I don't think that was tried. And it's never shown that it's been tried here. And that's one of the things that I do believe Hickman got wrong about Mara. She would have. And in the past, we would have seen her do that. Once again, you have to rewrite the character in order to get this story, and that's the biggest freaking problem I've had with this. Storm and her cult-like behavior in issue number, 5 or 6, 5, I think, of House of X. Everything just seems off about these characters. Now, like I said, there may be a long game here. There may be something that we aren't seeing that Hickman's going to bring up, and this will be like a genius freaking move, and I hope that's the case. But as it stands, like I said, the plot is really interesting. As a what if or something like that, an alternate universe, I think this would have been awesome. This would have been a really good story. I'd be like, oh my gosh, yeah, that's awesome. But as the template for what's going to come up in the X-Men, there's nobody I'm latching onto. I'm for humanity on this one. And here's another thing. I did like the fact that at the end, humanity is going to die. Wolverine and Mara is there. And I did like that. And this is what it's all about. And they were like, this is what we waited for? Well, you know what? Here's the thing. You're waiting 1,000 years in the future. People live, people die. Sorry, guys. I know it's an amazing thing for me to say to you, but people live, people die. Generations live, generations die. Things happen in history, and that's your moment. And it seems like, it almost seems as if it's really petulant. It's like, oh my gosh, look what happens to us in 1,000 years. Humanity still gets the best of us. Get the go over it. Seriously, it's 1,000 years in the future and you kill me so I could fix it. Really? This is where you're gonna go with it? What this in my opinion is a whole lot of potential that just, I don't know, it just didn't sit well with me. It did not sit well with me. God bless those who love it. You know, it's your thing, that's awesome. But when it comes right down to it, I just cannot see the people who went through the Dark Phoenix saga. I cannot see the people who went through the Brood saga. I can't see anything that has led up to this point to have these characters. This was a complete rewrite, and I'm going to keep harping on that point because that is the main flaw of the story. They had to act as if there is no past. There is no past to these characters. These people did not share the adventures that we have read of them. That's the whole story. All of a sudden, Mora, whatever you want to call her, has this resurrection power, and every time she comes in, she changes something. That's the whole point of the story, is that she said, no, I've got a story to tell, and I can't tell it with the way that you guys are acting now. And every time, not only, like I said, does she not go to the humans, try to change them, which has happened in reality. Instead, she goes not only to the mutants, but to the same two mutants. Look, if Magneto and Charles Xavier can't get it done, go to somebody who can. Find somebody who will. There's more mutants that have a dream than just those two. There you go, guys. You know what? I'm spinning wheels on this one. Great potential. Poor use of characters. Once again, even in story, it had to be rewritten. Oh my gosh, this time it didn't work out. Kill me, Wolverine. It's like Groundhog Day for Mara. It's amazing. Look, like I said, if it's your cup of tea, that's fine. That's great. I'm glad you liked it. And finally, we've got at least an interesting X-Men. I'm going to go with that. Look, hey, I'm wide open here. I want to see where this is going. And I was accepting of some stories of X-Men. I even liked a few in the past, but they've never kind of grabbed what they used to be. And for some reason, people have grabbed onto the story, that just glommed onto it, and they want to write it out. By all means, let's see where it goes. May not like it, but damn, I'm interested. But that's my opinion. What is yours? What do you think about the Hoxpox? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Tell me why. I want to hear it. Don't give me that you don't get it crap. Just tell me why you don't agree, or you do agree. Also, don't forget to click like and share. Look, get the word out about this video. If you don't like it, click dislike. Just understand that you may not agree, but I'm always going to be honest with you. I'm not going to give you an opinion that I think you like to hear because of confirmation bias gets clicks. It's never going to happen. Don't forget also to go on over to Patreon or to Ko-Fi and drop $1 in the tip jar. Help the channel out. Trying to make a living doing this, and YouTube's making it difficult. And if you want to commission a video, go on over to Ko-Fi. Links in the description below. Just pick a topic, pick a subject, and we'll get that video out to you ASAP. I'd like to thank everybody who's already done that, and to everyone, all of the true believers, thank you very, very much for watching.